Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning.
You mean you don't trust the police?
Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Well, that means I need to get, I used to have this other afternoon, welcome to Java with Jimmy on, but I'm not on there no more. So I need to get another afternoon greeting. But listen, I need you all to do me a favor. For one, the Java fam, this has been a long time since we've had this brother in the room. I also am going to tell you to tag people, and I'm going to go ahead and venture to say that if you did not go through the proper process of obtaining toys from the Toys for Tots operation here, sponsored by the Marines in the city of Boston, if you've texted, if you've called and you've emailed and wondered why, or if you have not viewed this brother's videos where he's been kind of trying to keep us up to date about what's going on with Toys for Tots and whatnot, you might want to listen in and tag a couple of people. Please, the 5 of you that are here right now, go in and hit that share button. So this brother does not have to repeat himself. We know that folks will go back and watch, but there's nothing like watching it live and in real time. So without further ado, I'd like to bring in my friend and brother. I'll go ahead and give him production credit for the originator, a producer of the whole concept of Freestyle Fridays. Let's welcome Darren Howe back into the Java Cafe. And do not say anything when I say this, who has not been here for a while. I'm just going to leave that there.
Yeah, that's right. I can own that. I have not been in the Java space. Hello, Java family and friends. It is always a pleasure, though, to be in this shared space with my brother. So, yes, thank you. You're a source of venting.
Information.
You're definitely a source of information. But for me, being the relationship that we have developed over so many years,
yes, sir.
It's good to feel like I can have someone to vent to that understands what service is about and what, this is a thankless field of work. Let me throw that out there. Field of work.
It's work.
And I think at times we do not understand, which my mentor has recently told me, is that the movement does not care about what you are going through, right? The movement itself. Now, individuals in the movement might care, but the movement itself does not care, right? It will drain you of all that you have because you are interested in doing something good, something that you may be fortunate or blessed to be in a position to do. The movement will drain it completely from you in a way that creates the burnout, right? That folks be like, why ain't this person around anymore? Why ain't I seeing this person? It's because they're burnt out. The movement does not have any compassion, any empathy, any concerns of what you as the individual is going through. So I wanted to start that off by saying, Java, what you've done with this space to support the movement of information sharing, making sure that people have access, is work, right? Yeah. It's not you might have woke up one day with your cup of coffee and went live, but now look what it has evolved to because of your consistency, because of your work, right? Things take on a life of its own when you apply the level of pressure to your vision, that you have in your head, right? You had to continue to do something, right? And so I wanted to be on your shared platform, to share this information because of the work you've done to create an audience that may need to hear this, need to see this, to be aware of where I'm currently at as it relates to this area of work, public service, right? And this is a place that I knew warranted this type of conversation, a freestyle Friday.
Yep.
Not hold no punches back.
Your concept. Go ahead.
Where you get it raw. You get it from the person's mouth, right? I'm glad you asked people to share it. I'm quite sure in 10, 15 minutes, we might see those numbers starting to rise, right? But the reality is that community, city of Boston, there is an amazing program that so many individuals, organizations have benefited from, including myself, right? I'm going to put that out there, including myself, that is known as the Greater Boston Toys for Tots program. That I need people to understand it's not Darren, it's not the city of Boston, it is the United States Marines national nonprofit program, which is called Toys for Tots, right? Like people, and so
I think that needs to be established, because though you've tried to communicate this, and those of us that have volunteered and been around, we know that, but there is, because of your work, you're the face, at the end of the work, but there's a whole, can you give folks a little bit of the process of how it goes from the season to your traditional for 12, 13 years day of event?
Yes. So thank you. So the program again is the United States Marines program. And so there is a Marine, an active Marine. Usually they are in the rank of staff sergeant that gets assigned to be the coordinator in whatever city that they go to, right? So they could potentially never been in that city. They could have potentially never had experience participating in any Toys for Tots operations across the nation. There is so much that is limited with the Marine that gets assigned to be responsible of the program that exists in that city. So Worcester has a Toys for Tots program. The Cape has a Toys for Tots program. There's other Toys for Tots programs in the state of Massachusetts, but the reason that the capital city, which is Boston, gets so much attention is because of the amount of organizations that provide service to families. So Toys for Tots in the greater Boston area does not provide to individual families. And I think people need to understand why. It's not because
Can you say it again a little bit slowly for the people in the back?
Yeah. The Greater Boston Toys for Tots program does not, I repeat, does not provide to individual families. Instead, because the need is so great, they have taken the approach of providing to the organizations, nonprofits, churches, various social service agencies, provide them with the toys to distribute to individual families.
So these are established agencies, entities. Typically, if I remember right, the year I was coming down there with you, 501c3s.
Tax ID, 501c3 tax ID status is required to request toys from Toys for Tots.
And not an individual, let's be real, that wants to do a good thing in the community like you did. Not an individual that got a space, they put a date out, and as an individual, they're applying to Toys for Tots. That is not the preferred model, correct?
That model does not exist in the Greater Boston Toys for Tots program. Okay. So in other programs, it does exist, but not in this one, right?
Okay.
And so,
Yep.
So and I'm glad we're able to have this level of transparency, because what Toys for Tots has unfortunately lost is the infrastructure that has been in place for the duration it's been in the city of Boston.
Yep.
And this is over, I want to say 30 years. The Toys for Tots program has existed in the city of Boston. So that means that the Toys for Tots program have seen 4 mayoral administrations. So we got Mayor Menino, we have Mayor Walsh, we had Mayor Janey, as well as Mayor Wu.
Now, Mayor Janey is the only one, if I remember right, because the time she didn't have any tenure during the season, right? Minimal.
Yes, she did.
Minimal.
Very minimum.
From October, the middle of October, for about a month.
Right.
Right. Okay.
But the reason why that is important to understand is because of what took place with that transitioning.
Yes.
From Walsh to Janey to Wu.
Right? Let's back up a little bit, because there's a significant transition that happened from Menino to Walsh, though Walsh did something, but because I know, I'll just say it.
Yeah.
The Marines need a home, and they used to be down on the dock. And Mayor Menino, and y'all know how Mayor Menino was, he basically told the owners down on the dock, the Marines,
for any development in Seaport, right? Let's just say there was no development in the Seaport area, and they had the adequate space for what was needed for the operation to grow and move forward. So in all fairness, I think that's why I never wanted to speak negatively on what the space that was offered to Toys for Tots for all those years.
Yep.
They didn't pay rent, right? Like, I love when people be like, well, people can write that off. Well, it's not the same as if somebody's paying you to use it too. And you can make a profit that way. So I get it.
And the mayor told them Toys for Tots, as long as he was mayor, would forever have a home there. And so Marty did pick that. Marty did sort of reinforce that.
Provide that support still, right? To making sure that they had a home. But there was that reality as the development took place with the Seaport District that, you know, having the type of space that was being provided to Toys for Tots, you could see how from a capitalist standpoint, it could be a challenge of maintaining and sustaining it. It just was what it was, right? Development, evolution, there comes some losses that happen with that. And one of the things that was fortunate enough that they didn't just kick Toys for Tots out. They allowed for them to have some time to figure out where their new home would be, right, for their program. Because Toys for Tots does not need 12 months of the year. They need a certain amount of time of the year to be able to do what it does, right? The whole assembly line of a process, which we'll get into. So Toys for Tots ends up needing a home. And I want to say thank you to the Boston Convention Center and all those that I know over there that made sure that that there was space provided for Toys for Tots to do an operation last year while the transitioning was happening from one location to a new location. But it was also the location where Christmas in the City took place, right? So there's always been a connection between the holiday season and Toys and the convention center.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the founder of the Christmas in the City event passed away from ALS. So I knew that Christmas in the City wasn't happening last year. So to be able to see if they would be able to accommodate the space for the distribution. So again, I'm glad we're doing this here because as I shared on my post with this video, I said, I'm not going to answer the phone over the next few days if it's related to toys, because I would like to provide some level of transparency from what I've called myself a private citizen. I am not an elected official. I do not work in the field of public service, right? I'm not a public servant. I don't work as a constituent service director, as an aide, as I don't work for a nonprofit, right? I've created a nonprofit, but I don't work for the nonprofit, right? So I am truly the definition of a private citizen that just wants to do some good because I can create some time to be able to contribute to something that I believe is beneficial. And what the benefits is creating a sense of joy during the holiday season. If you can find those families that can use just a little bit of joy, just a little bit of distraction because of the trauma that they've experienced, because of the loss of life, then that's what I've enjoyed doing. Some people chose to do turkeys. Some people chose to do books.
And the references these were actually public servants.
Right.
Go ahead.
And I think it gets missing that there were public servants who found something that they wanted to do and they dug deep into that, right? And I only can speak from experience that when you want to do something and it starts to grow, the logistical challenges become overwhelming, right? Like that's where it's like there's too many moving pieces.
Yep.
And then you get distracted by the need, right? Those that are looking to receive.
Yes.
You know, this family, you know that I know that family. I know there is 1,000 families in the city of Boston that would love some joy during the holiday season.
Right. That's right.
I am
And some
aware
relief, because there is a level of relief for parents. Let's just name that as well. There's a level of relief for parents that whose children move, and rightfully so, want to get up on Christmas morning like everybody else, unwrap gifts. So that piece is important too.
Yep, it definitely is. And because of the experience, I get it. Right? Like that's what I try to tell people, that if you're attempting to do this, I don't know why you think I don't understand what you want to do as an individual. If I was the US Marines, if I was responsible for the program, I can maybe receive it a little bit differently versus I'm you, just with more experience.
That's right.
Just more time in.
Yep.
There's nothing more that I've done that others are not doing, right? In the sense of, hey, you put in a request. This is the organization that provided you the gifts that you wanted to distribute to families. How you go about that is on you. There is no micromanagement. There is no, none of that exists. So for me, as an individual, I share this story so openly because it's the drive behind why I've continued to do it. When each year there's been a level of frustration, level of aggravation, a level of challenges. But I've also said these are learning lessons to try to not duplicate the next year, right? I don't want to be in certain emotional spaces because of trying to do some good for the hood.
Yes.
I myself, and you know intimately more than probably the viewing audience, I've experienced a certain level of trauma through the month of December.
Hold on, because I was going to be intentional, and I want to, based on what's been going on the past couple of days, and then with Carlos yesterday. And so give a little bit there, but I am going to check in with you from a mental health standpoint, because we've had that. You've contributed to that. So I want to actually do a little bit about that toward the end, but give a little overview for some context about, because I know what December does for you.
So for me, December, I've done, unfortunately, had loss of life. That done happened in this month. I done had close family members violated in this type of month where it got exposed, right? There's other things, but I'll just say those three things stand out the most, right? Because it's back to back, a memory of someone not here. Anyone that truly knows me knows that the reason I entered the field of public service was because the late Honorable Chuck Turner provided me a job. He passed away on Christmas Day.
That's right.
Right? Like, so for me, it's like, yes, there is some trauma that's associated with the month. There's some anniversary dates that makes it really difficult to get through, right? Without resorting back to those troubling memories, right? Like I'm human too, right? Like, and that's why I started this by saying the movement doesn't care about that, right? The movement doesn't acknowledge that, hold on, he's human. Why does he do what he does? Why has he done what he's done? Because he's human. I understand what it is to not have. I understand what it is to go without. I understand what it is to be in a privileged position to do the right thing and to actually do it, right? With grace, with humility, and without casting judgment to those that may be receiving, right? There's a reason for that, because I went without. I struggled. I made my narrative public for a reason to say, hey, yes, I went to jail. I got a messed up criminal record. It's very wordy. People will judge me based upon that paperwork. I had to create a new identity, and what people see today is 17 years of work that got put in to create that, right? And it was created because of an opportunity in the field of service. My partner is a nurse. The more she learns in her profession, the better she can provide quality care. Well, the more I learn in the service profession, the more I can advocate around improving the quality of life for those that are struggling or going through challenges. there is some humility into it. There is some grace. There is some integrity, because when those things aren't implied, what happens? You get the chaos that ensures, right? You get the confusion that ends up insurance, because why are you doing this? For intention or attention? What is your motive in helping me? Because I'm going through it right now, and I don't need no one putting my challenges on display in order for them to get a like button, in order for them to talk, right? So I'm doing this on your platform because I respect how you went about it. We sat in too many shared spaces where it was like, you are the source, you are the person, you are the source with the resource. I'm not just talking to you because I, think you're cool. I'm talking to you because you have an opportunity to change the quality of life that somebody is going through, right? So in doing it, it became addictive. Like, I want people to know it's an addiction in helping out someone else. You start chasing ambulances. Hold on, who needs this love, this joy? Who needs it? Because I don't want what I'm feeling, I want others to feel.
That's right.
Right? So when you're doing it and you seeing it, it becomes something different. When it's like, I tell everybody the first year they gave me 300 toys. And if you don't know, if no one knows what 300 toys look like, go walk down Target. Just look at the aisle. Imagine that laying on your floor. What would you do? You would try to figure out who to give them to. You don't want the toys. You don't. Yes. Do I have children? Absolutely.
At that time, they were.
At the time, they were 4 years old.
Yep.
I laid all those toys out in front of them. They were overwhelmed with joy. But am I giving my kids 300 toys? That don't make logical sense as a parent. Right? I'm not going to set something up that I can't continue or want to contribute. It's a toy. So again,
that's a whole nother subject. And let's just park and name the fact. Y'all parents don't, and loved ones and spouses, don't go out there going broke this holiday season. And then you're contributing to a whole bunch of drama later on next year because you can't pay your bills. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yep. So and people need to understand, a toy, it has a shorter lifespan than anything else. You might have 24 to 48 hours of that kid playing with it. And guess what? It's collecting dust.
Or they'll play with the box. You seen the little kids? They'll play with the box.
Play with the box and the paper and the wrapper, right? So let's be honest about what it is. It's a toy.
Yes. Yep.
It's something that for a small moment in time creates those endorphins, those feel-good feelings.
Yes.
But it's short-lived,
yep.
Right? And so, yes, I get that people want to get that high. Get that rush, get that fix. I get it. I get it so much. It's now, how do I doing in a fair way, a responsible way? I was like, because I don't want anybody thinking, well, D's putting in the work for me to do my event, right? Like, I know I'm not doing this work so somebody else can do an event, but I am doing this work because I appreciate what I've been allowed to do. That's why I do the work.
Can we just name on this point, and I didn't know if you were going to get to it, but I really want to make sure that this is clear.
Well, it's Freestyle Friday. We go anywhere we go.
You good. So in the context of your signature event, usually, which was at the best, maybe I think one year it was like the 21st or 22nd, we was at our Reggie Lewis, but usually from the mid to late, from the early 20s up until like the 22nd, maybe the late teens to mid 20s, Drive Boston sponsored an event, but the only way that Drive Boston sponsored an event was based on after requests were made through the proper process at the Marines, and they shut down what was, what was left there. Then if there were enough, you proceeded with Drive Boston. Is that correct?
Correct. Okay. I purposely, because again, I don't work with youth. I don't work with children. That's not my lane. I respect those that do, right? So because those individuals do that work with that population, it didn't make sense to prioritize the Drive Boston event.
That's right.
So Drive Boston
wasn't your motive. That wasn't your motive.
Drive Boston's event became the public event, right? If you aren't connected to any of these groups or these organizations, and you can use a little joy, you can use a distraction, right? Because of the challenges that exist during this time of year. So People know if they came to a Drive Boston event, you couldn't just show up, grab a bag of toys, and keep it moving. You had to come with your children.
Yep.
You had to let your children be children, so they got to fellowship with other kids, mix and mingle. You got to
face painted.
You got face painting, balloon artists. You got arts and craft activities. You had some public servants come out and serve. So shout out to AP for every year getting behind and distributing Congresswoman Presley, for those that didn't know the AP initials, right? But you had even State Representative Russell Holmes. You had people serving. They didn't come here for photos.
Because he retired this year, can we just name, and I don't know if he'll see it, but can we also name the wonderful work that Lou did?
Lou Finfer. Oh my goodness, my guy Lou. I'm talking about when folks seen how it was approached. They said, Darren, how can I support? Can I write you a check? And this is important because I love being transparent. Drive Boston was not an official 501c3 until 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
Drive Boston didn't become a tax ID until after 10 years of putting in work. So to sit back and say, when anyone said, how can I contribute? I said, what do you want to do?
That's right.
You ain't got to write me no check. Matter of fact, don't write me no check. This ain't about no money. This isn't about any of that. This is about doing some good in the hood. And if you want to contribute to it, that's what you will be held accountable to, what you say you want to do.
That's right.
So there's no misunderstanding of, I would love people to do a lot of things. Just like right now, when I try to say Toys for Tots needs volunteers, Darren doesn't need anything, because Toys for Tots is not Darren's program. It's the United States Marines. So when people want to help, it's not helping me. You're supporting the help that I'm giving to someone else. That's all I look at it as. So no one feels like, well, Darren, I came down here to Toys for Tots on the strength of you. Hey, great, but I need you to know you're helping them out, because if they are not supported, then the program doesn't exist. It's not about
on the strength of you. They're going to do what it is you're there to do to help them.
And doing what I'm doing is something as well people need to understand. Work was put in, right? So when people want to come down, and unfortunately, you got to deal with folks that have hidden agendas, the wrong intentions. People get so excited when they see the mountain of toys. They all of a sudden got 1,000 kids they know, and they want to make sure. And it's like, no, this is a program that has to be filled first. That's why Drive said we can wait. Yep. We can wait to see what's left, because there's a toy it's not one size fit all. There's going to be more. That I'm at work right now and not at Toys for Tots, not because I haven't been there. I've already been there for the day, and I'm still going back. But my job is having a staff party where they're bringing toys. I know Ironworkers Local 7 is collecting toys. I know Ernie Bocci just did an event today. They're collecting toys. People are collecting toys still all the way until after the holiday. So if there's no infrastructure in place, then it can't be ongoing. So that's why I put my post on this video as saying my future involvement. I don't want people continuously calling me, blowing my phone up, asking about toys. I just don't. And I understand why you can't reach the Marine. There's no one there at that consistent level to provide support to the program. So he gets overwhelmed with all the moving pieces of having to be at an event, have to be there to retrieve the donations that's coming in, have to be there to give to the organizations that's coming there to pick up, have to be there to show the volunteers what to do and what needs to be done. There is work when you only got 2 or 3 committed people. And so when it feels like, and I'm quite sure people are going to look at this and be like, Darren's aggravated, he's frustrated. No. I want to be transparent so you don't feel like you can't get involved. You can get involved if you got the capacity. If you got the capacity to receive, to distribute, then I personally believe you got the capacity to come down here and volunteer. That's my personal belief.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's an hour. Doesn't matter if you only got 20 minutes. It all goes to a larger effort of getting the job done.
But isn't that sort of, and Carl Donaldson talked about it this morning about giving and receiving. It's cyclical, it's reciprocity. It for folks, and again, it could be our orientation of service. If we're going to ask for something, and we, as you said, you giving credit and credence to if you have the capacity. It just is sort of this give and take of, okay, let me at least get a couple. If my organization is getting, 5,000 toys, somebody in that organization needs to say, well, let's get about 5 people to go down there and help organize. That is just, that's how I would operate.
Logic, right? And that's why it goes back to what I've been sharing with people.
Get out them comments, Darren.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, gotta check it. And what I've been trying to share with people is when you have 17 years of being in the field of service, that's what this is for me. It's like, oh, I can look and be like, why don't nobody want the toys one? Like, people love going to light the trees. People love going out doing all these events. Like, this one program supplies for probably 90% of the organizations that are distributing.
And the real essence of all that we're doing to lead up to the 25th for the young people is things that lead to them getting up on that morning and opening that gift. So let's just name that too. Right.
And so to sit back and try to be like, and I'm glad I see Carlos on here, right? Because Carlos was there when I entered into this space. We got a running joke where I'm like, and who was talking about me before I even came in this building? I don't know nothing about this field of work. I don't know nothing about what I'm supposed to be doing. Anyone that has heard my journey knows that the first thing I said to Councilor Turner was, what's a constituent? I don't even know what a constituent was, right? So I came into a space going through the Corey challenge of trying to find employment and retain a job. I was trying to make sure that I was doing something positive so I didn't end up losing my life to the streets or ended up in prison for the rest of my life. I knew what I was appreciative and grateful that Councilor Turner took me on his staff, knowing I knew nothing about what he was asking me to do. And then the job became, I don't want to be expendable. I better figure out what this job is. And the job was answering the phone to help people. That was the job. It was nothing. Trust me, there's nothing glamorous about hearing somebody going through some of the challenges that came through that office. This like I could sit back and say, and it became addictive. I can get through doors by saying, this is Darren Howe from Councilor Turner's office.
Yep.
Right. But this is Darren Howe. I need you to remember my name because I'm going to be the one calling you. And if I'm not calling you, guess who will be calling you? The counselor.
And y'all don't
right? Because I don't want that constituent calling me back. I don't have the resources. I don't have the programs. I don't have the services, but I got this office. I got this platform that I can get to you on their behalf.
You said you have an office and a platform to use to get some. Okay. I just
want to get some things done, right? Like that's what you're supposed to do as a public servant, right? You do a lot of advertising about what you're going to do when you're elected, right? This is the Java Cafe. Get your sip on, right? But folks say a lot of promises on the campaign trail. I can comfortably say I've never been elected. Now, I've sought public office. I ran, but I've never been elected. So no matter what, I've been a private citizen working in the field of service.
That's right.
And I haven't worked in City Hall since 2010. So I'm over a decade out. Do I still work doing some advocacy work? Absolutely. Do I do it at a larger level? Definitely. Not only statewide, but nationally, right?
Yes, sir.
There's all different forms of providing service and advocacy work. But direct advocacy, I am so far removed from it. That's what I tell nonprofits, executive directors that said, hey, you started out as the service provider. You were the one just doing all the work. But once it started growing, you started having to deal with the administrative side of it. So you might not even get to meet the population that's actually benefit from the service that you were applying, right? That's growth. That's growth. All I did is continue to grow.
As we should.
And so now I'm just in a space where I'm like, hold on, the movement don't care. So how am I going to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do for self-care? How am I going to make sure that I know how to take a step back and not feel guilty that I'm not around, knowing that it's going to have an impact on somebody, right? How do I do that? Well, I learned a lot of things is just by doing it. You're just going to have to let it fall where it lays, right? Like I'm not going to be pulled in 1,000 different directions because I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount of trauma that's being shared with me. This family's going through this, or this family's going through that. Yes, there's so many. How do I prioritize? You can't. Not when you're dealing with real lives and real situations. So it's like the drive event was to be able to say, hey, it's broad enough. If you show up, there's definitely you're going to feel some love that comes from this team. You're going to feel some love when you come into this event. That's why in 14 years, there's never been drama at a Drive Boston event.
Nope.
The only free event for the community. There's only one other group I feel like got to the same level, which is Score for More.
Yep.
And we love the kids. And we have a running joke. I'm like, y'all take care of the Roxbury side of town. I'll take care of the Thornton side of town. And guess what? Neither one of us is doing our events this year. Folks are burnt out. Folks are stressed out. Folks have their lives that they're dealing with and other commitments. And it's saying, do I want to continue to pour and not receive what I'm looking for? And again, I'm not looking for anything from any individuals. The joy I got from doing what I was doing is missing. It's overwhelmed with the entitlement. It's overwhelmed with the lack of appreciations. It's overwhelmed with the lack of support. It's overwhelmed with the do you. I need to receive. But what are you doing to give back? I can comfortably say, and I love saying it, I'm not even a resident of the city of Boston. You don't live there. I have no other commitment other than my love for where I was raised. My job is very demanding, right? I've elevated to be one of the top political positions in our state.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulled in 1,000 directions. I still made time. I figured out something to do with my schedule to give back. And as we're wrapping up this season, I'm stepping back. I'm not stepping back because I can't step up. How I'm choosing to step up is saying, I'm sharing it. I done talked to some key folks. I think I made it a little bit more clear to them of saying, this place needs an infrastructure. I want to provide any level of support to guide you to being successful in creating that infrastructure.
Right.
Because my skill set is I'm an organizer. You get that free. I trust, and some people pay a nice pretty penny to get me to get involved in their situations. Right?
Thank you for doing our flyers for the health fair, Darren. And that was the family rate. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So now I'm just in a point where I'm like, yeah, am I gonna do something more than like
staff sergeant?
Huh?
I'm looking at his picture. Kevin Thomas?
No. That's
okay.
Right there. That's
okay.
Thank you. And truthfully, there's a good chance I'm gonna do something. Am I gonna do something that has been done before? Absolutely not. I can't. I won't. Will people know what I'm doing? Probably not. Just like there's families that I still have went to over the years, and I say, please do not post this. Please do not share that I did this. This is because I seen from a distance what you have experienced, and I just want to see if this would be helpful. That's the joy that I'm going back to. So yes, do I still got access to toys? Of course I do. I'm still participating in supporting the program. Am I doing a large Drive Boston event? Last year we canceled. It was 10,000 kids that showed up or registered. No, we're not doing that. Y'all don't know what this is about. You know how you just want to receive. That's not.
Let's. I want to, because I know you and words matter, and I don't want people taking clips. The receiving, yes, was of some people that really needed it, but there was also a glitch in a system that within 2 days, a day, your thing went up 5,000, and so that was the contributing factor for last year. And this year, it just, with where we are,
where we're at right now, where things are like, again, I said it from day one. I said, if Toys for Tots is successful, then maybe Drive Boston will do an event. If it's not successful, Drive isn't doing it. Why? Because public perception always mattered to me. If I'm going to be doing public work, I got to make sure that there is no misperceptions around why, motive, hidden agenda, right? So now it's to say, like, what would happen if Drive Boston did an event where everybody in the community that pretty much knows it's one of the largest events, people would say Darren was down there just so he can do his event. That's why I didn't get toys to pass out to no kids. That's just unfortunately the reality. So it's easier to push back and be like, no, I, as an individual, my team, they used to be there regularly, but it was like, hey, we was making sure that all the other organizations was able to distribute.
Because that is the major mechanism in which the Marines are trying to catch the young people that need. Drive Boston after the fact was that sort of inner morehood reach of folks that may not be connected to the Marines, that may not be connected to an organization. And so the truth of the matter is the priority was getting the organizations done, and Drive was secondary as a second sort of safety net. But this year, in the last couple of years, I've been a part, and I'm seeing you trying to push the energy to make sure that if Toys for Tots is successful,
then everybody. I mean, in this 14 years, I've tried to do collective collaboration, right? Being like, hey, I know all you groups. Like, you're calling me anyway because I'm here. So won't we just do Christmas in the Hood? There's a Christmas in the City. Can we do Christmas in the Hood? And we just all come together, and it's hosted by us, and nobody has to worry about who's doing what, and we just all do it together. Ego is a big problem in our community. Now I got to do it my way. But you're still calling me. Like, if you're calling me and I'm the largest, and I'm saying I prefer to collaborate, I prefer to, share it. I know what struggles and challenges you're going to go through. It doesn't make sense that we just don't share in this. Like, let's maximize our efforts
for maximize impact,
but couldn't get folks to buy into that, right? And people wanted to do their own thing. My only concern when people have been doing their own thing is like, you still circle back to me. Yo, D, you got any leftover toys? Do you think you can look out for me? Do you think you could do? It becomes, well, why wouldn't you just want to collaborate so we can work on this together and do what we're both trying to do? But I get it now because ego's a problem. See, when you step back, where, again, I'm not.
But get out the comments, Darren.
So now I'm just trying to show, like, well, how do you show that ego's not involved? How do you tell people, like, what I'm saying and how you're interpreting is two different things. Mm-hmm. I'm saying I'm not in charge. Your response is, but you're the boss. I just told you I'm not in charge. Matter of fact, this person's in charge. Now, granted, he doesn't know much because he hasn't done this before, but he's still in charge. So the running example I use, I said, we both want to go into building trades. We both want to be electricians. I started 4 years before you got involved. So I just have more experience. That's why I'm a master electrician and you're an apprentice. But guess what? On this job site, we both answer to that journeyman. He's the person in charge. That's what I try to communicate, where I'm like, hey, I just know about it because I've been here. Mm-hmm. But I'm here in this capacity as a volunteer whose program has received from this program. So this is how I'm choosing to show my appreciation. There's nothing hidden about why I'm there. If I'm there, I had my event last because I knew there was going to be toys left over. I knew that this organization.
But you knew that from the years of going in and on
doing it for so long.
28th, you go in and like, where the hell did all these toys come from? So, yep.
So what ends up happening with toys from year to year, because they don't get to the organizations that wanted to have events because we didn't get the toys coming in early enough, then they get saved for the next year. So they sit for a year collecting dust in somebody's empty room. So yes, because I'm conscious of this, I want to do the right thing to try to maximize the efforts, right? To be like, if there's a kid out there and we got a toy, we should try to do all we can to make sure there's no toys and start the season off fresh every single year.
Why have them just sitting there and let's just name so we can give balance. Last year, the city of Boston was helpful with the excess. They were stored there. So we just want to name that. So
yes, and I'm going to flag that the city of Boston has been in a turmoil. We went through a historical mayor that had over almost 30 years as an elected official, or close enough to that.
20,
right?
20
and then we had Mayor Walsh. He had another 6. Then we had a year when we had 3 mayors in 1 year, which was last year. Right? I get that, this might not be a priority for anyone right now. It doesn't change. It's a priority for the community that you serve, that this season is going to come around anyway. Do you want to get ahead of it or not? Because if you want to get ahead of it, I'm right here saying, let me give you all the information you need and so that you can be successful.
And the tools. Carlos says here, I'm going to read them, Darren.
It's fun. It's fun. You know, it's just
Working for Chuck and even around him taught us how to be selfless servant and molded how to lead without ego, which allows us to yield to others when productive.
absolutely.
And let's just address this here. Miss Teresa, Carlos does, Darren doesn't need any donations made right now, because you'll mess with her and a big old Amazon truck will pull up down at the convention center.
Hey, I'm the person that says if folks want a source to donate or contribute to, I believe Toys for Tots is, you know, the most credible, recognizable source.
Yeah.
In order for it to reach the population within the year, that's the key to the whole program, right? It's like, yes, plenty of people. There's people that just have holiday parties, collect toys, and they're like, where do we bring it? Bring it to Toys for Tots, right? Toys for Tots is the receiver. Getting those toys out to the population, that's the joy for me.
And that's
you know,
also
to be
where
like, how can we figure this out? Folks, remember, I got the photos. I love seeing the memories where I'm like, wow, I've been doing this for quite some times. The big trucks coming through the neighborhood, dropping off like bags and bags of toys, to be like, this isn't about me. I don't need toys. I don't even like toys. I don't even celebrate the holiday. Quiet as kept.
Keep talking. Let me give folks a visual. Go. Keep talking.
Yeah. So to sit back now and be like, hey, community, there is, we have to do better, right? We are on the receiving end, and those that are on the receiving end, when do you decide to give back to those that you're receiving from? And I'm saying, don't give me, I'm not looking for you. I'm saying in this type of, on this conversation, on this issue, there's clearly a program that can use some community support, community infrastructure. And I've been just trying to wave the flag like, hey, I'm leaving from this space because I don't have the capacity when I have additional responsibilities that have came on to my plate. And I'm not running from those responsibilities. I actually am looking forward to them. And that means I have to.
I'm trying to get a picture of the year.
Tell them, Carlos, you know, these grays weren't there. Matter of fact, I was telling James I think I was telling James that
he's at work, y'all, so he's doing multiple
things.
I'm
just on the job with him. Happy holidays. Gotta love it. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to is trying to figure that out this year. Like, if there really can be an infrastructure created so that the program is successful, that whether I'm involved or the Marine changes, that there's something in the city that continues to keep the program in place.
Sustainability. And that is, man, listen.
And so because it's like, again, I'm an organizer, and a true organizer wants nothing to do at the end, right? It's like, I want it to be flowing and going, that my involvement was that of getting it to flow and go in the right way. So yes, I wanted to do this because, again, I'm getting text messages, I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting direct messages from people that I never knew a day in my life, right? Like, it's like, wow, somebody just told you I'm the man with the toys. All right, let me just try to respond in a respectful way that doesn't make someone feel like they were misled, right? Because I feel like that's all it is. It's poor communication to just try to shift to someone else.
This is just an example of this was 2018. Hold on. Let me not play that video because Facebook will cut us off. But we can just go through here real quick and show you all just an example. They didn't just come through and pick up toys, and this was early that day because it was a lot more crowded. But you see there that people are getting food. There's face painting. We forgot to mention the number one guest that's always there every year. Darren Santa showed up. There were dance competitions and giveaways, balloon makers, mask, face painters, and whatnot. And so, just to highlight, I'm feeling a little bit some sort of way, though not as
when you've been in it, right? You've been there to see it grow, right? That's one thing I enjoy about my community, our community. You all got to see it. It was live in your face. We shut down Talbot Ave to just distribute toys, right? Like, we did what we needed to do to try to make sure that kids had some joy during the holiday season, right? And so to sit back and be like, it does feel a little bittersweet to try to be like, yeah, it's not happening. I got access to a lot of different spaces to do an event if I really wanted to. I got the knowledge and know-how of how to do it effectively and efficiently. I have all that, but I refuse to have my integrity ever come into question.
Yes, sir. And so, as you should. And I mean, as much as it's bittersweet, I think one of one of the sweetest parts of it is that you're making yourself. Carlos was on yesterday, and Carlos, has poured into us and done a lot of stuff and legislation and all that other stuff. But the greatest thing I think that he has helped me with is becoming a better man and watching him make himself a priority. He's in the same thing with like you, selfless servant and but got to a point where it's like, you know what, me. And I've been kind of holding on to this because it sounds a little corny, but in 2023, it's all about me. And that's not in a selfish manner. If the guest said this morning, it's the plain thing with when you know what I'm talking about, the thing when the oxygen. Like, what is the first thing they tell you to do? If they
self-preservation
is yourself, Jesus.
So when we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, first need is self-preservation, right? And so when you recognize, like, hold on, I'm pouring a lot of myself that I'm losing from what I would like to, like this was difficult because it was funny because you're clearly got the virtual world now, right? So you're like, Darren, because you ain't posting, your algorithms are all messed up now. And ain't nobody see it. I ran into my guy Antonio during the turkeys, and shout out to him for doing what he's done for so many years, right? He's like, yo, is everything all right? I don't see you on Facebook anymore. I'm like, geez, I gotta figure out how to get these algorithms back up.
And look. Speaking of the good brother, there he goes right here. He would come, and let's just reiterate, AP would not only come and serve the pizza, AP would pay for the pizza. And there's he donated shirts. I still got one of remember the beige shirt that he donated with kind of like the Dry Boston colors? I still got that. I thought that.
Oh, trust me. Y'all remember I put the city on my back, right? I put it on the back. So yeah. Right, the Dry Boston.
There wasn't no hoodies.
You didn't get the hoodie that year.
I was involved. Wait a minute.
I'll get you a hoodie, James.
Okay.
So trust me, we even had the swagger, right? We got our shirts, we got our long sleeves,
baseball hats. Yep.
We had all these things, right? So and I seen that message calls. You're right. It's all right to be a little bit educated, have some information. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Commented about the Maslow theory. That's right. Hierarchy of needs.
Carlos is stupid. He said, "Get me a red one." Yo, I showed this picture, Darren. Why do you think I showed this picture?
To show working together. It doesn't matter that
tell people who she is in case people don't know.
She is now the senator, Senator Miranda. We both ran for the 5th Suffolk district seat. We both sought that seat. She was the victorious one, and we've always had a respectful relationship. That healthy competition is good.
It is.
I remember when she got into the race, I said, we're going to do this district some service by presenting to them an image that doesn't often get seen. We don't have to be attacking each other, talking nasty to one another to say that we have visions and plans to try to improve the quality of life. And here is our experience and credentials that we are presenting to the public, right? It's a resume. We're both applying for a job. Do I need to talk bad about you in order to apply for a job? No, I don't. I'm going to show what distinguishes us and then let the person decide who they want. And she was successful. We've had a great working relationship while she's been in elected office, and she's been able to provide support to any of the various service activities that I've initiated or been involved in. So yes, that's what community is supposed to look like. Just because we sought the same seat and she was successful, I'm supposed to have some animosity towards her for what? She got a job I don't want no more. That's what's even more interesting is like, I don't want to be elected. So anyone that keeps me like, Darren, when are you going to run for office? I don't.
You and I know the only way that we would run for office similar to Chuck, and we won't divulge it to other people. You better not. And so there's only one way that it can't be done with Darren. Anyway, here go Carlos. We'll be in here a whole nother 20 minutes, and I got to go get somewhere at 3:00. But I think there were the highest voting numbers and money raised when the two of you ran in that district. So that says a lot there. Darren, I appreciate you. I was going to say boy, but brother, we're not on the phone. But I want to do something that I did with Carlos yesterday, and really affirm the fact that watching you through the years, you say Sunday school teacher, but I think it was either the choir or whatever from back at Grace when you was a little kid, when that woman was shouting. And anyway, I won't put you out there, but I don't think I've ever brought this up on screen. This woman was shouting, and I guess there was a whole bunch of jiggling going on, and I seen you get ready to go.
I was a little young, immature individual.
But from seeing that, sir, to, you know, the contributions you've made in my life, and just, you know, we as Carlos said, our iron sharpeneth iron. I really want to affirm and appreciate you. And I've seen it. You've made it public. I appreciate that you're, you know, able to go out and get the MS, whatever it is, or what do you call the car? What's it called?
Oh, come on. You got the slingshot out? The slingshot or the Benz? Which one? I don't know. Like, you know. Yes.
I'm just glad that you're able to sit up here and talk about which car do you want me to show, and purchase a home with a wonderful yard and a dog dad. And just it does my heart so good to see that, man, because knowing your story and history and know where it could have been, and know that you've had some challenges on that road where you, from a human perspective, father perspective, human man street perspective, would have had every right to kind of revert, you know, a little bit, but to see it, look at Carlos and
a pool. Thanks, Carlos. You know, just put it all out there. You know, I got the 2-car garage. I got a couple of things in, you know, and it's not bragging, right? Because no one really knows, because I don't post my stuff like that, right? But it does speak volumes when you know the story, right? Like, I tell my children all the time, they are 18. I got twin daughters, they're 18. I got a son that's 22. And to sit back and tell my daughters often, I'm like, your dad probably looks boring to you all, right? Because ain't nothing like a peace of mind. It is quiet. I don't want a lot of ruckus around me. And I like to go, and James, you still ain't been there, so just throwing that out there. You know, I call my backyard the oasis, right? Like, it's a place of relaxation, of tranquility.
This is it. This is it, Carlos, to where, because everything he said that he wanted to do a few months later, he's like, yo, or he'll send me a damn screenshot. And I just write him back. I'm like, I can't stand you. Because once he makes up his mind to get it done, Darren, I got to get to a 3 o'clock.
Yeah, this was great.
Yes, sir.
Before we end this, because it has been a while since we've been in the same.
And it's the holidays and
holidays here. You know, definitely want to take that moment of silence for all those that unfortunately are not with us for the holiday season. I know how difficult that can be. I clearly just communicated one of the memorable loss that I've experienced on the day that, you know, Christmas. So just want to make sure we take a moment of silence, because again, what are we doing this for? Right? I tell everybody, I do this now. I finally got a new goal: legacy and wealth. I was like, because nobody pledged to be broke. I'm just making that clear too. I've never once pledged to be broke. I like to.
And in public service, and this is a whole nother Zoom. Why should people like you and I have to live broke or struggle because we're servants and anyway, go ahead, sir.
I know, and you know that. I do me, and I stay out the way. But with that being said, let's please take a moment of silence for all those that are unfortunately not going to be with us or are not with us for the holiday season, regardless of how they moved on out of the physical form. I think their presence being missed is shared across the board, no matter what was the result of that. So if we could just take a moment of silence to acknowledge them. Thank you. All right, Java family.
James. Darren, thank you. I say it every time you come on, but I don't realize how much I miss it. We're just going to have to build back this Friday crowd.
Well, after this year, you know, I'm focused on me in a whole nother way. You know about what my next project is, so we're gonna put this all out there, because next year.
Hold on, let me do you like I did Carlos. I need a commitment from you on camera right now that once everything drops, I'll be your first interview.
Yeah, you can get that exclusive. You can get that exclusive.
Carlos is about to. Did you hear that Carlos was writing a couple of books, and he's about to drive. He's about to go into his author space.
Nice. We need to talk, Carlos. I got a couple of things already in movement.
So, Carlos, you can cuss me later. I love you, bro. Darren, let me get off of here. Thank you all for tuning in for this special edition of Freestyle Friday. Don't forget to see us on Monday. Tuesday, we're talking about RSV and COVID, and I'll let y'all know what's going on Wednesday and Thursday. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank y'all.
Happy weekend.